I didn't see that option before.
Oh, okay, that's not a worry. I'll see if Kaitlin joins in a bit.
Okay.
But either way, how are you?
I'm doing okay. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. But yeah, thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me. I'm kind of nervous. I haven't done these in a very, very long time.
No worries. I was so nervous like beforehand. I've got like I was like really stressed out because it's felt like so. I think the last one I did was probably like November, December, so I feel really rusty.
Yeah.
But it's fun. We can both be like nervous and a bit awkward together.
Yeah.
Yeah, no worries. I'll wait a couple more minutes,
Okay.
um, like a minute or two, and then we can just kind of get into it a little bit more.
Okay, no problem.
I'll see if I can send her a message. Yeah. Okay, I've sent her a message, so I think we can just kind of start, to be honest. But yeah, do you want to introduce yourself first?
Oh my goodness, I don't know how. Hello, everyone. I am Onthatile Pooe, otherwise known as Soul Choke, or now the look after many, many bands.
I know.
I am an intersectional uh, activist, also feminist. I run a online-based um, I don't know what to my words are here. Sorry, guys. Social injustice awareness, or called Other People on Instagram. I started that when I was, I think, 17 or 16. And yeah, I just moved to TikTok on my personal account because I don't know, I just have fun talking about things to
Mm-hmm.
me. But yeah.
Yeah, so I'm Chelsea and I run the social like media for Kwanele. I've been part of it for about a year now. Um, so yeah, and I haven't meant for like TikTok to be our main outlet or anything like that. It's just kind of happened that we just seem to have like a lot of people that have started to like follow us and kind of engage with us quite a lot. So it's been quite nice. It's been quite interesting. And yeah, it's great because I'm literally obsessed with TikTok anyway. So it just makes my job a lot more enjoyable. But yeah, how how have you been finding like TikTok and posting on TikTok then? Because there's been so many times where you've just appeared on my For You page under like a new account that I have to like refollow. It's insane.
Yeah, I it's been quite difficult
Mm-hmm.
before. Ban was last year in December, and it was after I made a video about, I don't know, young people
Mm-hmm.
finally um the effects of apartheid, and like that they are still in society today. And then I got banned because so many people watched that video in a span of time, and obviously it got into the wrong hands also. So I
Mm,
got it, and I had never faced like any type of reporting that I wasn't able to appeal. So it was weird. That was kind of fun. Um, yeah, I think I've had 3 bans since then, like
wow.
permanent bans. And I don't know, I had to take a break in the beginning of the year and not do TikTok anymore, or at least not do this type of content.
Yeah.
But I feel like so called to make content. I think it's important to have conversations, and it's literally impossible for me not to speak on these issues. So I had to come
Yeah.
back. But I do think TikTok is a nice place to have these conversations because you have a wider reach of people.
Yeah, I agree. And I've definitely found on TikTok that like a lot more people are willing to kind of share your message. and
Mm.
amplify it. I find it like a lot easier also to have like conversations about things and to like come across things that I would like not have necessarily considered, or like certain opinions on things. Like even if I completely disagree with them, I'm like, oh, I didn't actually realize that people thought about this topic in this way or like felt this way. So I think it's really good in terms of like a learning experience.
Yeah, I think it is. Like for me with Instagram, what I like about it, no shade, but it becomes an echo chamber of your own thoughts because you follow people that think like you do. And like TikTok, where someone that you completely disagree with pop up on your For You page and you're okay, let me listen. And it opens your mind more to different opinions.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely. Especially as I think like when I go on the, not the explore, but you know, like the recommended bit or whatever on Instagram, maybe it's called explore, but like none of the content there was like anything that I'm actually interested in or really like aligns with what we're interested in as like an organization and who we need to be. Um, sorry, I just saw one of the messages. But like who we are kind of like trying to contact or what we're trying to do. So yeah, I think TikTok is well, can be a great platform when they're kind of on your side, so to speak. But yeah, I think it's a really great way to be connecting with young people.
Yeah, it is.
Mm-hmm. So I guess because we're doing this for Youth Month, for those of you who like aren't South African or really know about it, it's something that we are celebrating here, and it's really important. So, what does like Youth Month really mean for you?
Um, you sent me this question before, and I really had to think about it. I still don't have like yeah answer other
Yeah,
than it being a time of remembrance for many South into like the past and our hurt as a country.
yeah,
I think I would like it to mean much more, but it's like in Africa as the youth are so neglected. And I was having this conversation with myself after watching the news on because they did a segment they speaking to South African Jews, and it was like we're not included in many of these, and we always have this the youth of South Africa don't involve political in having these conversations about social injustices, but
mm-hmm.
just we are not even given at the table conversations. And I think for me, this youth month for me has been kind of unpacking that and realizing the shortcomings of our
Mm-hmm.
uh, yeah, that's what it
Yeah, I agree because like last year, I think we did a couple posts for Youth Month, but I don't feel like we touched on it as best
is.
as we like really could. I remember like I did a post about like the women that played a central role and you know what they were able to do and like why so much has changed because of their contributions and their sacrifices. But then as
Mm,
I was more thinking about, you know, what we want to do in terms of helping those experiencing abuse or like help to raise awareness, I thought like we've got such a young following, and I actually don't feel like when I'm reading these statistics and stuff, like there's a lot of young people that end up being hurt, but we're not really having these conversations with young people. Like we speak a lot with like organizations or many of the people that come to us are adults, and I thought like what actually is something that you know, like how do young people feel about these things, what about like their experiences and things like that. And I thought like I've never really looked into it, and I think it's something that perhaps other organizations could probably deal with as well, because I do feel like you said like young people are neglected like
mm.
in so many ways that it's really important to like start including them and making sure that they can like be part of these conversations as well.
Yeah, I think that is something that we need to really look as a country and general society because I know when I started like I'm not going to disclose my age. Even
Yeah.
now I'm to tell people how old I am because I know immediately um any credibility that I have will go down the because people perceive me not to have
Exactly.
anything in my mind. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that's so sad. Like, I hate reading my comments, but I was reading one of my comments yesterday, and um, it was about some post, a post that I made about some speaking about
Yeah.
how apartheid was the administration or something like I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But then it was like you weren't even born during it. You have to say it in conversation. But I'm like, how are we going to move forward if the conversation is limited to these specific people?
Exactly. Like, it's not fair to have like only people of a certain age having these conversations and making decisions that affect us. Like,
Mm,
it's one of those where it's like their decisions might only affect them in a certain way for a short period of time. It can affect us much more and for a whole lifetime.
yeah,
But yeah, I think it's completely wrong to invalidate people. I think young people have a lot to really bring to the table, and their perspective is really important. And I think we need to be included a whole lot more. So,
definitely.
what are like some things that you think affect like young people the most? Like, what do you think affects you the most in, like, from society?
Um, there's
It's a
so
big
much,
question.
a very, very big. But I think everything that I speak about it
Mm-hmm.
affects me. Um, how I've interacted with society because of my race, my gender, all things. And I think people don't experience these things because school for such a long period of time and they protected place. But for me, going to like a white run
Mm,
institution um, exposed me to this hate in
yeah.
my life that yeah, I think it all me. I don't know this question correctly.
No, no, I know what you mean about like, especially kind of like being in a bit of a bubble, and then that bubble kind of being popped. Where I was like, yeah, to an extent, like quite lucky of not really like experiencing like much, at least overt, like racism and things like that, until there was just like a turning point where it was just like coming and coming and coming, and I was like, oh gosh, I'm not used to this. And it's one of
Mm,
those, I think, was also quite interesting, like when it happened, or just like in general, where I feel like I'm being discriminated against because of like my race, my appearance, or whatever, where I think like, how am I meant to like respond to this? Where I'm kind of like,
mm.
do I give them the response that they want? Do I just kind of deal with it? If I like speak up, will I be seen as like falling into that stereotype of like an angry black woman? And I
Mm.
just feel like it's quite hard to kind of like also navigate sometimes.
Yeah, it definitely is, and it definitely was for me because in the high school that I went to, I did speak up on things, and I had people before me that on these issues that protest that got the news involved, everything. But I
Mm-hmm.
was like a different approach. Let me speak to these people. Let me put together evidence, like proof to show
Mm-hmm.
you that this is how you're hurting children that are safe in this space.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of get the same response. That's why now I'm just unhinged and
Mm-hmm.
say whatever because I've seen that when someone does not want to listen to you, no matter how you deliver that information, they're not going to. And
Yeah, I do think that where I've tried talking like to someone like about it, and you're just not being listened to. But then it's like,
mm,
if it's somebody that kind of looks like them that tells them the same thing that I'm saying, it kind of they start to process it. So I think like at the same time, is it worth kind of giving my energy to like try and convince you what you're doing is wrong, but because you're looking at me, you're going to completely ignore what I'm saying anyway.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a bit of a different approach that I've taken on now.
Undercover as what? You know how white people use these places to speak and have opinions. Maybe we should be doing
Yeah, maybe.
that.
I do find it quite interesting though, like when it's one of these things where it's like it's not right, it's not wrong, but like sometimes when white people do speak up for us, where it's interesting to sometimes see the divide of like, are they being an ally or are they like overstepping the boundary? And I can kind of also understand like the difficulty for them to perhaps navigate their position as well. I don't know. I'm saying this because I'm thinking of this TikTok. I don't know if you saw it, but it's this white woman and she has braids in, and she asked the question of like um why do black people have like so many, I think she asked like single mothers or something, how can we help you? And it was one of those where I was like, I don't know what the intention is. I'm gonna assume there's good intentions here, but something doesn't feel right.
There's
And like something like that where I think like so many times when I'm like, but what do I actually have the issue with here? And I can't like pinpoint it.
Yeah, I think it's like I don't know how to navigate. I just try and avoid that type of content because I know I'm being angry
Yeah.
about it. Because you're asking that question, not charged with something
Hmm.
that
Yeah, I do think it's quite interesting. I've invited Kaitlin, but I don't know if she's. Oh, oops! I almost sent her some gift. Um, I think she's
Hi,
like if here. Can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you guys hear me?
Oh yeah, I can. It's just
hi.
because I couldn't see you. I thought you weren't there. You might have joined like the audio thing.
Yeah.
So I'm late. I got caught up with another appointment.
Oh, it's honestly, it's not worry. I think we were just mainly talking about. I don't know. We're talking quite a lot, but kind of I guess about like young people using their platform and like why we cover like the topics that we do. Like, what prompted you to kind of like start using TikTok?
Um, it was, I think, mainly just like a response to what I was seeing on social media that I wanted to kind of be a voice combating some of the more problematic content I was seeing coming across TikTok and other platforms, like even Twitter and Instagram. I felt like there needed to be more people spreading kind of the right information that was not misleading people and was actually standing up for what's right.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And like, how have you found that in terms of like, obviously you've done that in terms of like really being able to like grow an audience and having people like really engaging with your content, but how has it been in terms of like any sort of backlash or negativity that you've had?
I find there was definitely a lot more hate at the beginning when my platform was still growing a lot more. And now that I've established an audience that's quite like supportive of me and appreciate what I'm doing, that really sort of drives out a lot of the hate. And it's only when I get a video that goes viral outside my main audience that you then see those kind of comments, the backlash coming in. But again, because there is a feedback, it's easier to ignore.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Exactly. I also like to say like a really quick thank you to everybody that sent likes. I've just like glanced up and there's almost 300. So thanks a lot. Um, but yeah, so I guess we were also talking about like the way that young people have been like, well, continue to be like excluded from being able to like talk about. I don't know if the words like talk about, but like just kind of like engage with issues or like share their opinions and stuff, and like how great TikTok is for doing that as well.
Yeah, I definitely think it's a great platform because it's so easily accessible for so many people. Like, all you need is a smartphone and the internet connection. You can make videos, whatever you want, which has drawbacks, but I think in terms of accessibility of access to information and different perspectives and allowing people to actually speak and use their voices, really beneficial.
Yeah. So one of the things that we've been looking at in terms of Youth Month, being obviously an organisation that is working to help end gender-based violence, is that we've kind of been looking at like how gender-based violence affects young people, or like the abuse that they've experienced or witnessed and things like that. So part of like looking into it, I've been asking like some young people, like, how does gender-based violence like affect them, or like the threat of gender-based violence affecting like their daily life? So do you two want to try answering that?
I think in every way,
Mm-hmm.
there's this first photo, yeah, you wouldn't have seen it, but it just speaks on, is an ad about how women are constantly thinking about their safety,
Mm-hmm.
and speaks on like how most of us feel every single day at every moment.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in UK, and we've recently had about gender-based violence, about professors
Oh yeah.
sexually, and it made us, it was happening in the times of exam. It made us literally go to school, because before those like friends and whatever at night, but then
Mm-hmm.
as these were coming, we were like, we can't do that. But every like we stop, it restricts us from having fun, from going out. Think about what time do I have, who can I go with, who do I
Yeah.
trust. I think, yeah, in every way it's affected my life.
Mm-hmm. And
And
how
I think
about
it's,
you, Kaitlin?
yeah, it's also, I agree with everything, but I also it's become so normalized that in a way you don't even think about all the like changes and adaptations you make to the way you're living your life because of this constant like worry of like GBT, like the potential like your safety and stuff like that. So you, in a sense, you're thinking about it all the time, but you also, until you actually stop and reflect on it, you can't just see it as normal because it's become such an ingrained part
Mm.
of our life. Just thinking about like, is this safe? This like, am I going to be at risk if I do this certain thing? So um it's only if you like someone who's like, as someone who's traveled overseas before, like you go overseas and you're walking around at night and you're like, this feels so strange, like I never do this in South Africa. And only when you kind of externalize yourself that you realize the way we're living here in South Africa with such fear and worry all isn't normal.
Yeah, exactly. Like we also found that like when people would speak to us, like young people, about gender-based violence or just like the threat of it, they often said like there's not really enough support out there from like institutions. Like they felt that they would get like a lot of support from like their friends and maybe
Mm.
family, but apart from that, like it kind of felt like that was about it.
Yeah. I'm so sorry. This is not a laughing matter, but I'm just like thinking how the vice chancellor handled the situation. Because I think it's like this girl is like looking for attention. We tried to help her, but she refused our help. And I'm like, in what world would someone use help from?
I remember being so confused, like reading that letter,
Yeah,
being
like
like, "Are
accused
you
her of
sure you
having
want
an
to publish
agenda.
this?"
Like,
I don't know, what agenda would you have? Because I don't feel like any woman, well, most women would
Mm-hmm.
not speak on gender-based violence, because even though like we need to talk about, there is still like embarrassment that this happened to me, and like self-blame and all these things. So I just understand.
And
Yeah,
especially if you do speak on a public platform, like the amount of backlash that you're
yeah,
like the amount of people saying that you have gender, or that you're a liar, or that you are going to ruin someone's life, or that you're a bitch and a terrible person and a cow, and etc. Like those are all comments that people who do try to speak out get. And like if you're seeing that people are speaking out on getting that sort of abuse treatment when they just try and kind of speak about their experiences, you don't name someone, and you'll get like terrible comments on social media. So of course, encourage else from wanting to speak out. I'm probably sure that's why the student came forward anonymously on Twitter and didn't want to attach her name to it, because like just looking at the anonymous account, like you can only imagine if people knew her name and knew who she was.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I think it's one thing to be having like backlash from like anonymous people or even people that you know, and to have that kind of negativity and not to be like to be felt like you're being believed, but to have it from people in positions of power as well is just even worse, because it kind of shows that, you know, that's the kind of agenda that they set, and that they can use their power and influence to get away with these things.
yeah.
I know.
I just want a question of how you guys feel when you're on, especially Instagram. I remember this has happened multiple times, but I'll find myself through Instagram and I'll want to mention something to my friend and be like, listen to this. And then is it going to trigger me? 'Cause I feel like it's infiltrated so many our lives, even when we're on Instagram. That shouldn't be the first thing you think of.
Yeah, I know. Well, it's kind of like two ways. I feel like it's either like I can share it and it's like, okay, more people know, and it's great in that sense, or I kind of feel like, you know, kind of like you said, where it's like it's either triggering, but then I feel like for some of my friends it's come to like a point where they've almost become like numb to what they see in terms of these things. And I think like it's such a terrible thing, but then it's completely understandable where when you're being constantly like bombarded with these things anyway, that like the best way to cope or to deal with it is to kind of not feel anything.
I see that someone's just commented asking if I can possibly exit and rejoin the live. I think there's a reverb. So I think I'm going to try do that now and see if that solves it.
Okay, that's fine. I will be able to add you back in, I think. Right, let me just get rid of you. Okay. You see, I think I have to send her an invite again. I'm like totally not good at this. I feel like one of those people that like don't know how to use a phone. I'm like clicking on all these random things, like which will work. Okay, I think she's back with us.
Okay, I think.
Okay, do you think Kaitlin sounds better now, Danny? Then again, if you don't, I don't think there'd be much that you could do. Oh, okay, so much better. That's great. Thanks for letting us know. Okay. But yeah, I can't remember what we were talking about. My mind's gone blank. But yeah, if anybody has any questions as well, please drop them below.
I think we were talking about like seeing on social media like
yeah, about like kind of being desensitized to things. But yeah, do you two feel like you're to like a certain extent maybe like desensitized to things?
I think, yeah, to a certain extent, I do try and kind of, because I have two Instagram accounts, one that's kind of like my personal Instagram accounts, and then one that's my more one that's like focused on like sharing like news content and social justice things and stuff like that. So I have kind of curated my Instagram so that my personal Instagram, I don't necessarily see a lot of that sort of content. So I like, even if I follow accounts that post those sorts of things, I'll kind of mute them or on my account so that I'm not constantly seeing it. And I have to actively seek it out by going onto my other accounts and scrolling on my other account. And I feel like that's been a good way for me to kind of like, also, I know that if going on Instagram on my personal accounts, I can just scroll and not kind of have to worry about seeing something triggering or that. And it also has helped with like the desensitization because I actively have to kind of seek out that content, and then I'm thinking more consciously about how I'm consuming it. So I think that's helped me quite a bit, is kind of curating it like that.
Yeah, that sounds like a good way to do it.
I think I've also done the same on TikTok with my two accounts. I have where I would just post the things that I would like to post that I don't think are like in the realm of social. But yeah, I think on Instagram I have become desensitized where I'm like scrolling, watching someone at the coffee shop, and the next I see is about some case that's going on, and I had to question that at some point. I was like, why do I not feel anything when I'm watching these things, hearing these stories? Then I watched the movie Fresh. I think it came out this year, but it's about these women that are kidnapped and how they help each other escape their captor. Even watching that, there was gore, but I was like, this is normal. This happens to so many people, and I think we all need some for the collective trauma that we have as women. Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen we've got a question from Danny who asks, what can we do as women to keep each other safe? I feel like there's almost like no, like there's ways, but also like it's very, like, it's very complicated. I guess I guess it's like the more everyday stuff of like perhaps making sure that your friend gets home safe and like tracking them and things like that. But I think beyond that, I guess because there's so many people out there that are willing to kind of harm you or perhaps take your life or whatever, it's almost like an uphill battle.
Yeah, I feel like we kind of all know the like common sense, like standard practices of like if you're in an Uber, you share your location with a friend, and then track the location, or if you go tell someone who's not going with you where you're going, or if you're going to be out like home late, you like say what time you're expected to be home so that someone can check in on you if you're not home on time. Those sorts of things. I feel like we all do those already, and we do that for other women as well because we know what it's like to be in that situation. But beyond, that's just kind of like mitigating and just not actually solving the issue. And I think unfortunately the issue is not really within our hands to solve because this is a thing that's wider than individuals, and it's wider than just us as a group like of women. It's like if we look at the perpetrators of gender-based violence, statistically it's men that are the perpetrators, and there needs to be a cultural change in the attitudes of how men view us and how they see us. But they're not seeing us as like disposable, basically, people that are just free to harm, take out their anger on when they fit, and we can raise awareness of that and try and push for that change, but that change ultimately, unfortunately, comes from us because it's not necessarily is the problem.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, like you said, like it's more than like it's such a bigger issue, but something that we're doing as an organization that we hope to like be a way to keep other women safe is releasing our app actually later this year. So with our app, in terms of like keeping each other safe, if you feel like you are in danger, then you can shake your phone to activate the app, and that can notify your friends and family that you're in danger, and it also sends your location to so that an armed response can come to your location if you feel like your life is in danger. And with that, we also start a audio stream and a video stream as well that is stored on the app, so that if it ends up being a situation that you feel you want to perhaps like file a case for, then we have all of that there as admissible evidence for you. So hopefully that will be something that could potentially benefit you, Danny, and the women in your life as well. So yeah, I hope that kind of answered the question. But yeah, I think it'll probably be best to leave it there. But I'd like to thank both of you so much for joining me on this live stream and having this kind of conversation where we covered quite a lot, to be honest. But yeah, it's been really great. And thank you to everyone that's been watching and engaging with us and sending us likes and stuff. So that's been really...
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Thanks for joining. Right, I will see you both later, and thanks again.
Thank
Bye.
you.